Welcome to the FEMCAST. We're more than just a podcast, we are a movement, fueled by the voices, ideas and stories of women from all walks of life. We're here to amplify your voice, empower your ideas and ignite change. This is a platform where your story matters, whether it's celebrating success, overcoming adversity or raising awareness on issues that shape our world. By subscribing, commenting or reviewing, you help us grow our community so we can continue bringing these important conversations to the forefront. Connect with us across social media at the FEMCAST and be part of a growing community striving for equality. Join our mission. Share your story. This is the FEMCAST, where your voice leads the way. Welcome back to the FEMCAST, where we amplify women's voices fueled by women's ideas. Today we're diving into one of life's toughest transitions: breakups, divorce and navigating toxic relationships. Joining us is Louize Yafai, an accredited breakup, divorce and domestic abuse coach, who has dedicated her career to guiding people through these challenges with clarity and confidence. Louize specialises in helping individuals manage the emotional and practical complexities of separation, co-parenting and domestic abuse. She shares how a coach can be a game changer, helping clients dial down emotions so they can work effectively with their legal teams and avoid unnecessary costs. Her action-oriented approach provides the tools needed to overcome heartbreak, manage conflict and reclaim their lives. With her deep empathy, professional training and personal experience, Louize has helped countless men and women worldwide rebuild their confidence and step into a healthier, happier future. Don't miss this powerful conversation. This is the FEMCAST. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the FEMCAST. You're very welcome to the podcast today, Louize. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you very much for coming on. Can you tell our listeners and those watching us on YouTube who Louize is?
Okay, well, I am a breakup, divorce and domestic abuse coach. So what my job is, I help people through the emotional and time of their lives where they're going through a difficult transition. And I just help them with clarity on their emotions and help them move forward positively and dial down their emotions and just really empowering them just to keep moving forward.
Okay. So how did you get into this, in this part of coaching and specialising also with survivors and victims of domestic violence?
Okay, well, I was married in my late 20s. I was married for 16 years. I have 3 grown-up daughters now in their 20s. And unfortunately, we decided to separate. And because we owned a business together, we were both 50% shareholders. It just went completely acrimonious, unfortunately, and I was dragged back and through the court. And I literally could not keep on top of my emotions. I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't eating right. I was going into my lawyer's office or into court and walking out of my meetings thinking, oh my gosh, what do I need to do? What was said? What route are we going? Why are we going down that route? So I was kind of clouded with far too much emotion and not listening to my lawyer. I was actually using my lawyer as an emotional outlet, which was the wrong thing to do. It took a long time. And of course, at the end of it, I racked up a lot of money with using her and the rest of the legal team as an emotional outlet. So with my clients, I don't want them to make the same mistake, costly mistake that I did.
Can you talk a bit about how you support the clients then when they pick up the phone and ring you, Louize, and say, I'm starting divorce proceedings, I need somebody to help me? So, as you call it, you dial down the emotion, and you can understand totally how they are so emotional because it's a huge transition, and especially if you're coming from domestic violence, how you support them.
Sure, of course. So with every client, I always offer a free half-hour consultation. And after hearing what they are going through, I will then kind of say, okay, maybe 3 to 5 sessions, and I really give them the tools and techniques to keep them moving forward. And each client, it's all tailored towards their needs and what they need to get through. So basically they'll call me, we'll have a chat, and then on the actual call, which could be a day later or a week later, there's 90 minutes of conversation as to why, where, how you're in that position. And then we just keep moving forward. So we talk about their situation once. And then each time we meet up, it's about them, how they've been, and just to empower them week on week, to give them their confidence, to give them the control back as well. We're talking about some clients that have been married for over 20 years. The husband has taken control of their bank, their details, their finances. So I have clients that don't even have their own bank account. So even just to open up a bank account is such a big step. And also it's the inner strength that, clients give after our conversations. Even to open up a bank account is a small win.
You never have control of money, and now you have to open a bank account. That's massive.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you've been 20 years married and maybe averaging 25 to 30, and at 50, 55, it's the first time to own a bank account. That's huge.
It's massive. And, and rightly so. They're kind of scared and anxious before going to the bank. But, with my coaching, I empower them and the inner strength. And it's like, okay, we'll take your passport, go down, make an appointment, open up the account. When I speak to them the following week, it's like, oh my gosh, I did this. And just the change in them is incredible. It's like, oh my God, I can do this. And it's the fear kind of hold them back as we coach along the weeks. They start to realize the other side of fear is their happiness. So it's an incredible journey that they are on, but it is a journey. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. And with the tools and techniques as well, they have that for life. They can teach their children, their friends. It's just a way of not carrying the baggage, the upset, the divorce into the months ahead. They deal with it separately with me. They'll deal with their emotions with me and go to their lawyer's office, and it's completely business-like, and it's all about assets and what they need. And, that way forward, it's more practical. The legal team are there to help them with their legal side, and I'm there to help them process their emotions and get them through their divorce and their breakup.
Yeah, I think it's important for anyone that's listening to know that when you do go to lawyers, it is very black and white. They don't deal with emotion, they deal with facts and law. And that can be so disheartening to a victim or just anybody going through any kind of process that they need legal advice. But especially somebody coming from domestic violence, coercive control, financial abuse, is that they may feel, does he understand? They, of course, empathize and understand the emotional side, but they just need to get the facts out. And this is why it is important that you go in empowered and prepared for a legal system that is very black and white and can come across as really cold.
Yeah. And, the system is cold, and you have to remember that your legal team are there to get you the best outcome. Yes, they may have compassion, but they don't give you the tools and techniques. So when you walk out of their office, that you're feeling empowered, that you're in good spirits, that, you've understood everything. They're there for the legal side. They're not trained in helping their clients move forward positively. Or when the divorce is over, then what happens to the clients? It's kind of the clients have used the solicitor for a year, 5 years. And then when the divorce is over, they realize that actually I've got nobody to talk to anymore, that nobody's going to listen. But what clients don't realize is that the more you talk about the divorce, the betrayal, the anger, the sadness, it's keeping you stuck. So it's hard to move forward when you keep that alive, and that anger and sadness and all alive. yes, it's happened and it's so unfortunate. And I totally get it. I've been through the divorce process myself, in and out of courts, co-parenting. I've dealt with financial abuse myself, post-separation abuse. So I get it. But to offload your emotions and know how to deal with them is just a complete skill set in its own right.
And it is consistency as well, and kind of retraining and relearning and retraining the brain to deal with the new way of living.
Yeah, this is the thing. And, and I always say to my clients as well, it kind of, you have this blank canvas now, and it's about regrowth. It's about looking towards your future. Where would you like to be in a year's time or 6 months' time? You've got this blank canvas. You can throw as much color as you want at this blank canvas. Where do you want to be? What do you like to do? Because, during a marriage and you're raising children, or even if you're not raising children, you're still taking care of the home or you're working, you kind of forget about yourself and your needs. So now, you can look at it as a black hole, or you can look at it as blank canvas. What do I want to do now? This is my time. Yeah, we can get you through that. Not a problem. And the journey is incredible. But they can write their own story now. And they also have to remember that it's not their partner that gives them happiness. It's actually themselves. So you have to be happy within yourself and have a goal for you now and where you want to be and what do you want to do as well. It can be exciting. And once they're over that hurdle of taking control of their emotions, moving forward positively, once they shift their focus, there is that element of excitement.
How do you shift to focus, though, if you've been literally coercively controlled, abused for years, have had no control over your income or anything that's gone on in your life? It could be 1 or 2 years, or it could be 20 years. Navigating that, especially if the other side is abusing a system, because you see it's time and time again how they abuse the system, drag the other person through the system, and they're back to being abused and gaslit again.
Yeah, exactly. And that has a huge impact, the domestic abuse and the co-parenting. That's one of the biggest impacts and challenges. And what I do say to clients in that is, you don't have to react. They will speak to their lawyers, and it's up to their lawyer as how they react. They'll deal with the legal side. But for me, it's about changing their focus. It's about, say, for example, they haven't done their finances for 20 odd years. It's okay. Well, let's do an income and an outgoings, because every session I would always give them an action plan of maybe 3 to 5 things to do before we meet again the following week over Zoom. And there'll always be an element of fun. But, if, like you said, if somebody has been coerced and they have no idea of the finances, another small win and another empowering thing to do is to basically write down their income and outgoings. What do they need? To focus on themselves, on what they need. They can't control what's going on with their partner or when they're going to send that nasty legal letter or text or whatever. But it's to kind of document everything. And if you're dealing with an abuser, an abusive ex, I would always say email. Don't text each other, but have everything on email so that if you have to refer to something down the line with your lawyer, you've always got it, at hand.
That's a good point that you just made there. So, oh, I'm waiting on this letter. I know what's going to happen. They're going to drag me back. He's going to do X, Y, or Z, or she's going to do X, Y, or Z. So it's to actually step away from that and just deal with what you have control over. Something like the small wins, as you say, is like, this is what I need for food this week, for electricity, to put fuel in my car, the children's activities, what's going to go out, what's coming in, what's going to go out. Mm-hmm. That's the bit that you can control. So they just concentrate on the stuff that they can control.
Yeah, exactly. Because that is enough for them to be dealing with without the mind thinking, what's he going to do next? Or to try and think what his next move is or her next move is. So really they have to take care of themselves in order to be able to parent properly. Because when there is abuse, it does affect the way that you parent. You do then start to make up for things. And then, of course, the children will then start to overstep the boundaries that they knew you once had. So it's important to take care of you and your children and really just ignore that other person. Your solicitor will deal with that.
Yeah. Can we talk about legal hurdles that your clients are facing into when they are going for divorces, and especially coming from domestic abuse?
Yeah, I mean, that is a tough one. Their legal challenges are really dealing with someone that is not responding to letters, that just ignores legal letters. And, it racks up the cost. And that's another way of abusing a client. You're re-triggering that person financially. They might have been physically abused, verbally abused, but another way to control that person when they've stepped away from the marriage is they will do it financially as well. So again, it comes down to taking care of yourself, what's going on in your home, what you need, and to think forwardly as to, you're going to be without that person. So you're going to find that inner strength, which you always do. Women always find the inner strength to move forward and just focus on yourself. And the legal teams will deal with the abusive ex-partner, and they have their own ways. Again, I don't give legal advice, so I can't delve too deeply into that. But I do know that clients that are going through domestic abuse would benefit from having a lawyer if you're at the start of a divorce. If you've got domestic abuse, it's always better if you choose a lawyer that has dealt with domestic abuse cases in the past.
Do you get many clients then that are coming to you and when they are naming stuff, they actually get an understanding that for years they've been coercively controlled? Because there's massive campaigns about it now, and laws have been changed in the last decade, thankfully, because of it. But there are still some women I talk to find they don't realise they've been through a coercive controlling relationship and financial abuse.
Mm-hmm. And it comes down to, again, when they get married, it's kind of okay. The husband will take care of the finances, not always away, but predominantly. And that's how they set up their married life. And that's okay. They've both agreed it. There's nothing wrong with that. But then when you come to separate, and, I've got women coming to me and they're talking about what happened in the relationship, and they don't realize that they have been abused. And like coercive control, that's kind of a new thing that's coming out. It's highlighted a lot more now. There's actually 25 types of abuse. I know some people can name possibly 3 to 5 types of abuse, but there's actually 25 types of abuse. So yeah, people coming, they don't realize they've been coercively controlled, financially abused, because they normalize it in the marriage. It's like, we do that, or he's had a bad day at work, and he will kind of use the wife as a punch bag, and sure, he does that all the time. They don't think nothing of it, but only when they're separating, we're talking, they realize that they have put up with domestic abuse.
Yeah,
kind of a light bulb moment for them. But then when they know about that, it's kind of, they realize then going into the next relationship, they have boundaries, clear cut boundaries. So they know that will never happen to them again. And they're going into the next relationship as well, a lot stronger, more self-aware, and they know what red flags to look out for as well.
And are the banks compassionate and empathetic to the situation? If you're coming in off the street one day and you're saying, I need to open an account, I need to access money as soon as possible. Maybe parents are helping them, family members are helping them if they've never had any control or any money. Do banks turn things around quickly? Do you have relationships with banks, or if somebody was to go to the bank and say, we are now going our separate ways, and they say, go to a coach? Is that the kind of thing that would happen as well in your line of business?
In my line of business, where there is domestic abuse, there's quite a few banks, and I'll mention TSB for one. They offer a system where if they have a customer that's being abused, they only have to walk into the branch, ask to speak to a manager, and they'll go and speak privately in a room, and they offer up to £500 to help with you fleeing a domestic abuse situation, whether that be for accommodation, for train fare, for food, and that doesn't have to be paid back.
Wow.
And yeah, I know, it's amazing. So if any of your viewers are watching, there are other banks as well. So if you are being abused and you need to get out, please visit your local branch and see if they have a similar setup.
That's good. And as well as that, in the UK, we don't have it here in Ireland. The rail system, you arrive and you can travel free.
Yeah.
You and your children, just you, if you need to get away.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, it's called Refuge to Rail or something around that. But again, you can go there and you can travel for free. You're fleeing a situation and they will, you know, put you on the train for free. So there is help out there. Please reach out. And, you know, if you need any guidance, let me know. We'll talk at the end of this as to where you can find me, but you don't have to suffer alone. You know, I've heard so many stories. I've been through the ringer myself. I get it. And, you know, the first step to recovering and starting your new beginning is to make that first step with a phone call. Reach out with an email. I will help you navigate those emotions. I'll get you through the other side. The transformation will be incredible, I assure you.
When you have somebody coming in and there's just so much noise around them, noise about going forward, what they're going to do, you know, their brain has been damaged from years of abuse and it's just so overwhelming. And there's obviously their nervous system is in fight, flight. How do you get them to a place where they can calm down and actually listen? Because that's the most important, because you don't hear stuff that's said when you are so emotional like that.
Yeah, I totally get it. I've been there many years ago myself. So it's basically having the time to listen to a client and listen intently. You know, I know that family and friends, they will always judge and you should have done this and you should have done that. When you're in that situation, you can't just leave. You can't just, you know, pack up and go. So for me to actually listen to that person, I will make and see on each session, what do you want to deal with today? Is it your crying? Is it the children being angry? Are you drinking too much? So we focus each week on what is holding them back that week, because generally most weeks, as we move on, there'll always be something different. So one week, I'm not sleeping, I keep crying. So it's kind of like, okay, well, when do you cry? Is it after you drop the children off? Do you feel lonely of a weekend, or is it? So it kind of, again, it's tailored to each individual, and it's all about listening to their needs and what they need to move them forward to the next step.
Thank you for tuning in to the FEMCAST. If you're enjoying the podcast, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and become part of our growing community. By subscribing, you're helping us bring important stories to the forefront and giving us the opportunity to book incredible guests who share their powerful insights. Your support means everything to us. It helps us continue the research, amplifying these vital voices and delivering the best content possible. Feeling generous? You can even buy me a coffee to fuel the work we're doing here. Together, we can keep this movement alive and thriving. So let's keep the conversation going, amplify these voices and make a difference. We're in this with you. This is the FEMCAST. Louise, I suppose a lot of your clients would come with a lot of shame and guilt and probably trauma bonded for years. How do you help them with that?
Firstly, there's no shame. You know, that I will listen and I understand why they feel shame and guilt, especially when they're coming from a toxic relationship. And when you're trauma bonded like that, it's only when you've come out of that cycle, and I'm coaching you that again, the light bulb moments happen again and again. And then that's when they start to get angry, but they're getting angry in a confined area. It's confidential. We deal with their emotions and we move them forward. We shift their focus of the shame and the guilt. we've all been in those relationships where, once you're out of it, you think, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have agreed to that. But it's about then building up their resilience and empowering them so that, again, when they move forward in life with their next relationship and also jobs, children, whatever relationship they're in, they're more aware and they have their boundaries. So it's basically dealing with the shame, why they feel shame. Again, I'm listening to them and giving them the tools and techniques to keep moving forward.
Have you ever had a client who was with you, went through a divorce and repeated the patterns again? Because, it's kind of like the devil you know rather than the devil you don't. And, sometimes our worth is validation from others, and you kind of go back into that kind of cycle.
Mm-hmm. You mean back into the cycle with the ex-husband?
No, but like even a new partner, do they come back and say, like, I feel I may be going back to my old ways or old patterns and I need coaching. I don't want this to happen or for it to end up the way it did the last time, 2 or 3 years. So I need to cut it now.
Yeah. And when that happens is they haven't healed properly from their divorce. It's all about when they're coming out of the divorce, it's going to rock you. You're going to have a roller coaster of emotions, which is completely normal. And it's all about being self-aware, taking control, shifting your focus, focusing on you. And what they don't realize is that you actually hold the remote control to your brain, nobody else. So when they haven't healed properly, they're jumping into another relationship. They haven't took much time to themselves to kind of heal, really. And it does take time when you're coming out of an abusive relationship or a marriage or a partnership. It takes time to actually find yourself again and realize what it is you want and what you're looking for. So if you haven't healed, those patterns are going to repeat themselves. If you're coached correctly, where I coach my clients correctly, they will always have boundaries in every bit of their life, whether it's with family or friends or work colleagues or future boyfriends. They know how vital it is to keep their boundaries going.
Yeah. Can we talk about boundaries? It's a big thing.
Huge, huge. And some of my clients in the past, they've been too scared to voice their concern, to communicate effectively, in order to save a row. It's kind of like, oh, I just keep quiet about that. But really inwardly, they're seething or they're upset because, their partner's going to do something that they don't like. And I kind of say, well, if your partner doesn't know that you don't like that, how are they meant to know? It's about communicating your need effectively in a way it's out of love. And, and when you're in a partnership or a marriage, it's all about, what do you like? What do you not like? And if you're going to keep quiet, you're going to be quiet forever. And then you'll just get people walk over you. So it's so important and vital to set boundaries in every relationship, even with your children, your family, your friends. They have to know the boundaries and really not to cross them. And if they do, bring it up, speak to them, let them know that, you weren't happy with that. So then they won't do that again. And if they are doing it again, they're not respecting you. But boundaries is a big, big thing.
Yeah. So when they start the process with a coach and they're starting the legal system, and if it's dragging on for years, and they've mastered the emotions and now they just have to keep returning to court and playing the game because the system has been abused, do they come back then to you and say, like, I need a top up, I'm in court next week?
Oh, yeah, all the time. And actually, there's times where I go to court with my clients as well. So I'm not allowed in the actual courtroom, but I can sit in the halls or the corridors and just keep their emotions down. So when they're with their solicitor, this is a big thing. So when they've kind of got to the doors of the court, this is so important where they need to keep their emotions under control. So if it's local enough, I will go to the court. And if not, they know they've got me on the other side of a phone call for me to speak to them if it's getting a bit too hot and heavy for them. So I'm there every step of the way. If they need me, I'm there.
How do you help them when they have to co-parent with a partner that has been abusive and they have to hand over the most precious things in their life to this partner because the courts say they have to? How do you help them navigate that when they know being around this person that is so toxic is going to damage their little brains?
Yeah, exactly. And it comes down to having a good solicitor to fight for them in court. I believe that children should see both parents. However, unless there is violence, the courts will deal with that. But if I have a client and she's terrified of their children going to the other side, it's kind of, I get her to shift her focus in the thought of, for example, a client drops the children off in the car park of Sainsbury's. My client was always tearful. She hated them going to the other side. And once we got into it, and she had a restraining order against her soon-to-be ex-husband, but she knew deep down, because they were supervised and her soon-to-be ex-husband was living with the father, she knew no harm would come to them. But it was just that fear of letting go. So it's kind of, again, shifting her focus. When she dropped the children off, she put her earphones in, went on a long walk. She realized that she couldn't control what was going on there, but she also knew that soon-to-be ex's parents were there and would call should anything arise. And nothing ever happened. And once that, she was used to dropping the children off 3-4 weeks on the trot, nothing. She started to settle down. But what we did do, we shifted her focus. So once she dropped them off, instead of sitting in the car crying and being upset or going home and just, not getting out of bed, we shifted her focus. Put your earphones on. What music do you like to listen to? Go on half an hour walk, go and grab a coffee and have that buffer between dropping the children off and going back to a quiet home without the children. And also as well, shifting the focus. What do you want to do this weekend? Or what do you want to do today? You've got the whole day without the children. Do you want to go visit your friends? Do you want to go shopping? Do you want to go and get your nails done? Just thinking something else and not to focus on the children. Again, it comes down to shifting the focus and not having control what's going on there, but having control for herself and her emotional well-being. So when she got the children back, she was happier, she wasn't uptight, she wasn't anxious, and the children didn't feed off the anxiety from the mother. They saw a healthy mother whenever they used to come back to her.
Yeah. And one piece of advice, what would you give people?
Take care of themselves. Take care of themselves, because if they're not feeling right, they're not going to co-parent properly. They're not going to move forward positively. You have to eat well as you can, sleep as much as you can, take time for yourself, but be very aware of what emotions are going on with you and reach out. Always have a good support network around you, whether your family, friends, a good lawyer, financial advisor if need be, a coach. But you will always need somewhere to offload those emotions. Otherwise, they will drive you crazy if you've got no clarity on your emotions.
Yeah. So I suppose the difference between a coach and going to a therapist, the way the therapist gets you to arrive, and it's really hard to arrive, you give them homework and action, whereas a therapist will get you to arrive at, yes, this would be best for me. But then you go off and you're not really answerable to anyone. Whereas I think that's the difference with the coach and a therapist to offload.
Yeah. I mean, for me as a coach, I will hear their story. I don't go into the background of when they were a child or when they were at school. I go into what happened, what led to the breakdown, and then I move them forward, empower them to keep moving forward. Once we talk about their story, we don't have to say the story again each week and again, because as I said earlier, the more you talk about it, the more you're keeping it alive. So my job as a coach is different to a therapist, because I move them forward. I don't go deep within from childhood. And the therapists, they go deep. I mean, I hear the story and I move you forward. And each week I will give you an action plan to keep you moving forward, to keep you focused on forward, not back. So, there's no need to keep that story alive. We're getting you through. It's not nice to go through a separation and toxic relationship, domestic abuse. But that's done, that's in the past, and we'll get you moving forward.
Just the last word there then, Louise, is just basically moving forward and being gentle on yourself. But you are a priority here. You're all round with the eating, the sleeping, the things you like to do before you meet this huge challenge that you're coming up against.
Yeah, and be under no misconception, it is going to be a challenge when you're going through a divorce, whether you're with an abusive ex-partner. It's going to bring up all of these emotions, and you have to be ready for that. And I can prepare you for court. Not obviously, I can't give legal advice, but I can prepare you and empower you and give you the resilience you need to get you through. And I always say, and I always do, move clients forward positively. So they've got their future to look forward to. Yes, it's unfortunate that there's a breakdown in the family dynamics, but look, you've got this future to look forward to. And although it doesn't look happy and merry and joyous right now, as we go along, they start to see, okay, like the blank canvas. Okay, I want to do this now. I've spent years raising children or not working. I want to have a little part-time job. I want to join a book club so they can grow and do what they want to do now and do what, makes them happy.
Thank you so much, Louise. That was a great insight into what coaching does for people going through separations, divorces, anyone going through the legal system to separate. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me so much. And if you want to find me, please reach out at Louize Coaching, and that's Louise with a Z.
Thank you very much. I'll put the link on the bio.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Anita.
Thank you, Louise. Bye.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the FEMCAST. We hope it has helped shed light on the critical issues affecting us today. If you or someone you know has experienced anything discussed in this episode, please log on to our website, thefemcast.com, for support services and help. Don't forget to subscribe, rate and review our podcast to help us continue bringing these important conversations to the forefront. Join us next time for more inspiring stories and empowering discussions. Stay strong, stay informed and stay connected. This is the FEMCAST.